What's up, everybody? Sorry that this video took so long to get out. I've had a lot of stuff going on the past couple weekends, but I'm here now to show you about P.U.N.K Gold Pride. Now, admittedly, this combo guide isn't going to be super interesting. It's going to be like 90% P.U.N.K combos and like 10% Gold Pride combos, because so far the Gold Pride monsters don't really have any synergy within their own deck. So mostly you're just going to be using the P.U.N.K in order to use Gold Prides as extenders. So most of these combos are going to be like P.U.N.K engine plus one Gold Pride monster, which as of right now we only have 3 of them. So it's just going to be different variations of like the same 3 combos. P.U.N.K can confuse a lot of people, and if you haven't played within the past year or so, you probably have no idea what the P.U.N.K cards do or what kind of lines they can make, depending on what you draw in your hand. So there's 2 main starters for P.U.N.K, which is going to be E-Tele, P.U.N.K, and in very niche scenarios, P.U.N.K can also be a starter. But I'm going to show you some E-Tele and P.U.N.K combos along with our Gold Pride monster of choice for these combos. This one's going to be E-Tele plus Carrie. We're going to do a lot of very familiar P.U.N.K stuff here. So if you know what P.U.N.K cards do, we're just going to be kind of going through stuff you've seen a lot already. We're going to E-Tele out the P.U.N.K here. And P.U.N.K is going to pay 6 to add a P.U.N.K monster from deck to hand. We're going to grab the Shirakusai, and then we can normal summon Shirakusai and use its effect in order to fusion summon. We're going to fuse using our 2 P.U.N.Ks, go into Rising Carp. Rising Carp, when it's on field, you contribute it to summon 2 P.U.N.Ks from the deck. So we're going to grab the Wagon, which is a spell searcher, and Deer Note, which is going to help us go into our level 8 synchros. We're going to use Wagon, pay another 6, so we're already down considerably in life points, making it super easy to summon our Gold Pride monsters. Next, we're going to activate the Extreme Session, and we're going to synchro these off. Now, you want to make sure you activate this before you synchro summon, because the Dragon Drive here is going to activate its effect to pay life points. And what it's going to do is search for a level 3 Psychic monster, and the Deer Note, since it was sent to grave, we are going to revive the Shirakusai, because the Shirakusai will let us synchro summon during our opponent's turn, which will give us some additional interruptions. Now right here we are going to grab Madam Spider. The Madam Spider is a level 3 tuner that can search for the P.U.N.K Trap card. And then, since we paid life points with Dragon Drive, on a new chain, we get to draw a card with Extreme Session. So, I'm just going to indicate our draws in this video with hand traps, because ideally that's what you want to draw anyway. Either hand traps or more combo extenders. Next, we can use our field spell's second effect, banishing the Carp from grave, to summon out the Spider that we just searched from the hand. And then Spider will search for the trap card, so we get Dangerous Gabu, which is a monster negate on the field. Target a monster and negate its effects. And then if you control a P.U.N.K, you can gain life, which is pretty useful considering we've already paid 3,000 life points just by doing this combo. And then we get to draw an additional card since we paid 6 with Spider. So we've drawn 2 cards already. And finally, we can start playing Gold Pride cards. So we're going to special out Carrie here because we're at a life point deficit. And Carrie on summon is going to search for the Start Your Engines. So Start Your Engines, I think my replays are bugged again, unfortunately. But Start Your Engines, what it does is if your opponent summons a monster, you can like summon a Gold Pride from your deck. You reveal 3 and you summon 1 at random, but if you reveal the same one 3 times, you're guaranteed that summon. And then you get to destroy the monster that your opponent summoned. So it's kind of, think of it like a Trap Hole plus E-Tele. It's those 2 cards combined. And we get to make, using our level 3s, we get to make the Star Leon, which during the opponent's turn will let us destroy a card, a face-up card they control. If we have less life points than our opponent, which you probably will after paying 3,000. So just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to show you all of the pieces of interaction that we have here. Let's say our opponent summons out Xiamen. They're going to search for some combo extenders here. So we're just going to let them play for now, because I want to show this off. Right, once they have 4 cards on the field that you can potentially bounce, we can use the Shirakusai in order to make Amazing Dragon. Now, Amazing Dragon is, if it's synchro summoned, target cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 psychic monsters in the graveyard with different names, and you can bounce those cards to the hand. Now, just by going through our P.U.N.K combo, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4 level 3 psychics with different names. Means we can just kind of quick effect bounce 4 cards, and since we paid to synchro summon, we get to draw an additional card off of Extreme Session. Right, so we get to bounce 4 cards, and then, you know, let's say they keep playing, we have the Leon to pop a card, and if they try to keep playing, we do have both of our trap cards. Let's say they summon a monster, we have the Start Your Engines, we get to target the monster, destroy it, and summon out a Leon. If you have 3 Leons in deck, you reveal all 3 of them, and you're guaranteed the Leon summon. And Leon's effect is that on summon, you can special a Gold Pride from the graveyard, so we can target Carrie. And he has a quick effect where you can quick synchro on the opponent's turn using Gold Pride monsters you control. So unfortunately, you have to have another Gold Pride in order to do this, but if you have the Leon, or the Star Leon, then you're fine. We're going to get to Synchro Summon first. We're going to go into any generic level 9. Genshin is a good one. Ravenous Croco Dragon is another good one. And I think the new Vermilion, the water Vermilion Dragon mech. I don't remember its name, but if you search Dragon Mech, you'll probably find it. It's the water one. Like a monster negate, I think. And then we get to summon out the Captain Carrie. And if you play 2 Start Your Engines, you can search for another Start Your Engines here when you summon this. But if you don't, then that's perfectly fine, because it's just going to be like follow-up monster material for next turn. That's kind of, and then you still have the quick effect, or not quick effect, it's a trap card. You still have the monster negate with the trap card left over, even after all of this, plus the cards that you drew during your turn and your opponent's turn could provide you some additional interruptions here if you draw some hand traps. That's kind of like the main setup you're trying to go for with this deck, is the quick synchro with the P.U.N.Ks, as well as the Star Leon, and potentially a quick synchro with Leon and Star Leon into a 9. There are other things you can make that we'll talk about here, but this is kind of the general end board you're trying to go for, and multiple different hands that can get to this. Now, if you're not super familiar with the P.U.N.K cards, this will be a section for you. This will be like the Xiamen line. So if you're familiar with P.U.N.Ks, you can skip this, but if you don't know anything about P.U.N.K, this is an alternate line that uses Xiamen as the starter instead of E-Tele. So basically, we get to just kind of go for Foxy Tune off of the Xiamen, because we have to normal summon the Xiamen, and then we get to use Foxy Tune, pitching the Called by the Grave, summon the Shirakusai. So this, from here on out, is going to be like the exact same combo. It's just the alternate way to get there, whether you draw Xiamen or E-Tele. This is all going to be the same stuff. We'll just go ahead and move on. So now we have our P.U.N.K starter, but instead of Carrie, we're going to go for Leon this time. Leon's not as good to draw as Carrie. You mainly want to summon this guy off of the Gold Pride trap card. But at the end of the day, it is just a level 3 tuner extender that you can summon for free if you have a life point deficit. So it's not terrible to draw. You would much rather draw Captain Carrie because it gives you the trap card, but you can still make plays with this guy in your hand. Thanks to a special little level 3 psychic that some people may have forgotten about. We're going to go through all the same punk stuff. I think like every single combo in this video is going to do this exact combo, so I'm just going to speed through it to make it quick. So it's all the same stuff, right? But we have a tuner in hand this time, right? So Leon is a tuner. So instead of searching a level 3 tuner, we're going to add a non-tuner in the form of Psychic Tracker. The Psychic Tracker, the level 3 Earth Psychic. If you control a level 3 monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you make a Synchro monster using it as material, that monster gains 600 attack. So if you have a bunch of tuners in hand and you really need a non-tuner in order to make your Star Leon, a Psychic Tracker is a nice one-of that you can play that is very easily searchable off of Drag and Drive. Or you can summon it off of E-Tele. So there are multiple ways to get to it, and it really helps you push your combos if you draw like a whole bunch of tuners and no non-tuners. So we can special out the Leon here, and we're not going to use its effect because we don't have anything. And then we can special out the Tracker because we control a level 3 monster. Now if you want, let's say your opponent's not really playing a deck that like spams the board with monsters, but you really want like some form of monster interruption anyway. Instead of summoning the Shirakusai back, you can summon Foxy Tune back. And this is going to allow you to make a rank 8 Xyz in the form of either Photon Lord for a monster negate, or you can make Hope Harbinger for a spell negate. I think for this deck in particular, it loses pretty hard to things like Book of Eclipse, which is going to be very popular. So I think Book of Eclipse might be the better, I think Hope Harbinger could be the better choice over Photon Lord. But both are fine depending on the matchup. It just kind of depends. And then with these two, we do have level 6 access to go into the Star Leon. Right, so we can either have the bounce or the monster negate over here. We have the quick effect monster removal here. And then we only get to draw one card off of this combo because we didn't search like Madam Spider. But if you drew Madam Spider or if you drew an E-Tele, you can just E-Tele out the Madam Spider or summon it using the Extreme Session to get an additional draw plus the trap card. So the deck kind of makes the same board every game. It just depends on how you get there. And there are tons and tons of ways to get there with all the draws and all the searches that this deck has. Now here's a neat interaction from that I talked about a little bit in my first impressions. And it's that if you just draw Spider and Carrie, you can use Spider to get the trap card, and then you can use Carrie to get the Gold Pride trap card, and then Synchro for the level 6. Right, and then we get to set 2. So on its own, this is 3 disruptions just from these 2 cards. But if you do have a Leon in deck, of course you can go for the Start Your Engines to get the Leon, and then Leon effect, like let's say we pop a card with the Star Leon, and then we can quick Synchro into any level 9. Just these 2 cards can potentially put up like 4 disruptions, which is kind of nuts. Like you can do the whole Punk combo and then search Spider, and then if you have Carrie in hand, it puts up all this already. So it just goes to show like the sheer value you get off of all these cards. It's pretty nuts. So this here is going to be a showcase of if you draw like either Leon plus Carrie in addition to your Punk combo, or Crowd Goes Wild in addition to your in addition to like either Carrie or Leon, because you're just going to search the one you don't have. So let's just run through the Punk combo here. We're just gonna get it rolling. It's the same. It's always the same. It's the same thing every game. This is what you're going for. There are much simpler lines if you don't want to go for Rising Carp, but for example, like if you're scared of Nibiru, yeah, I think you can put up a Photon Lord on the 5th summon. Like if you're scared of Nibiru, if you just you just don't go for the Carp line and you go straight for Xiamen into Foxy, into Deer Note, into the level 8, revive Foxy Tune. That's 4 summons, and then on the 5th summon you make Photon Lord, which gives you Nibiru protection. Can be a good play if you drew like a whole bunch of random other extenders and Gold Pride cards. It could be the better play, since Nibiru will be a pretty popular choice in the meta again, now that this deck is legal. So you need to be wary of that. We're going to go for just all the same Punk stuff here. We're going to go for the Shirakusai play for the bounce. Alright, so we can summon out the spider. Search our trap with the spider, draw an extra card. And then we can use our Start Our Engines, which is going to reveal the Carrie and add the Leon. Now we get to special summon all of these out. Go into our level 6. We can summon our Leon. We don't need to summon it off of the trap card because we already drew it. So this is basically just going to help us make our level 9s a lot faster. So you can actually, if you want to, you can use Start Your Engines to summon the level 8 Nitro Head. And instead of making a level 9, you can use these two to make a level 11, something like Psychic and Punisher. So if your opponent's on a deck that doesn't have an out to this card, you can kind of just throw this guy up and then just kind of sit on it, so that just throw it up and sit on it, and they don't have an out to it, so they can't really kill you. And the deck has so much draw power and so much follow-up that you should be able to like close out the game next turn, since they can't out this. And of course you do have like all of these interruptions as well to just help prevent that. So you can make either a level 9 or a level 11 on your opponent's turn, just depending on which one you think is better. Most decks in this format are not going to have an out to this card, so making this guy is usually pretty safe. It doesn't put up any like opponent's turn disruption, but just being an unkillable guy that makes it impossible to lose is good enough on its own sometimes. Now finally, one last thing I want to cover is the use of level 7 extenders in this deck. So there are 2 main ones that you can go for. I think the stronger option is definitely Fenrir, but if you don't want to cough up like $10 million for a playset of Fenrir, you can play Ascended of Thunder, which may or may not have in here to show you. Yep, there he is. You can play Ascended of Thunder. Obviously Fenrir is the better card, but Ascended of Thunder does have 2 unique applications that can make it better than Fenrir in some scenarios. Number 1, it pays life points in order to special summon. So just by summoning it, you're now at a life point deficit, meaning all of your Gold Pride monsters that you have in hand are now live for you to special. And since this deck draws 2 cards off of the field spell in the middle of the combo, if you draw into Ascended, like during your combo, you can still summon it. Whereas if you draw into Fenrir in the middle of your combo, it's just going to be dead in your hand because you have to control no monsters in order to summon it. Seeing Fenrir in the opener, in like your opening 5 or 6 cards, is just so insanely strong. Like even like going second, this card can like break boards on its own, like while you're just doing your combo. Whereas Ascended of Thunder is gonna kill you by paying 3,000. So I think Fenrir is the better choice. If you have Fenrirs, definitely play them. If you're on a budget but you still want access to the level 10 synchro pool, cards like Chengying are very strong in this deck. Ascended of Thunder is an option on the table, and it does have synergy with the Gold Pride cards. I'm going to be showing off Fenrir, because I happen to own Fenrirs, so I'm going to be playing Fenrirs. We're going to go ahead and summon it out, because we have to summon this first. And one of the benefits of Fenrir is that it's going to give you an additional card in hand, which is great if you draw it alongside Z-Amen, because we need a discard fodder for our Foxy Tune. So you can just pitch the Fenrir that you searched off of the Fenrir for our Foxy Tune effect. So that's another big upside of playing Fenrir, is that it doesn't lose you any advantage by using it. So then we're just going to go for all of the P.U.N.K stuff here. Go for the Wagon, search the field spell, activate the field spell, go into the Dragon Drive. We're going to summon back the Shirakusai here. We're going to add the Madam Spider. We get to draw a card off of our field spell, summon out the Madam Spider, get the trap card for an additional disruption, draw another card for another additional disruption, and then we can use our level 3 tuner with our level 7 to make Barone. So Barone provides a lot of utility for the deck, because you'll notice the last couple of combos, we didn't really put up any negates, which makes this deck super vulnerable to Book of Eclipse, evenly matched, Raigeki, like power spell and trap board wipes. The deck is very weak to those. So having access to Barone is very strong. It makes your board... your opponent needs like multiple points of interaction to break your board if you have Barone. Unfortunately, Dark Ruler is not super prevalent this format, so you're mainly worried about Book of Eclipse and Evenly, which Barone deals with on her own. Now you'll notice we don't have the level 6, but we still do have access to the level 6, because we have our Gold Pride Trap card, which is going to summon out the Leon, and then we can quick synchro using our Leon and our Carrie into the Star Leon. So you still get access to the Star Leon, just not right away. And then in addition to that, you have all of your other trap cards and your Amazing Dragon Bounce, your Baron Negate, your 2 cards you drew, as well as the 3rd card you're going to draw. So that provides some extra utility using level 7s for the deck. I highly recommend playing either Fenrir or Ascended, because Baron is kind of essential to your end boards. I wish level 7s were like more searchable. The deck doesn't really have any access to level 7s, unless you just like hard draw it, which is a bit unfortunate, but I think you have to play at least one of the 2 that I mentioned, because the deck just hard loses to Eclipse and Evenly. Like you really need like that Omni in order to protect your board from the power spells. But I think that's going to about wrap it up for this video. Gold Pride, it's not an actual deck yet. I'm hoping the next wave of support is going to push it into being like a standalone deck. But right now we just have to supplement like a pure P.U.N.K deck with Gold Pride, because it kind of gives you, if you draw either Leon or Carrie alongside your P.U.N.K starters, it kind of gives you one or 2 additional interruptions with, you know, the power creep last year and even this year with Kashtira cards just being kind of insane. It gives the deck a little bit of a boost, help it kind of catch up to the post-P.U.N.K Synchro Adventure format power creep. which is kind of insane that I'm even said that, because I'm sorry this video took so long, but that's pretty much all I have to show. It's just not, there's not a whole lot going on with it, but I hope you enjoyed nonetheless. If you're not familiar with P.U.N.K, I hope this helped you with the P.U.N.K combos, and I hope you enjoy playing this deck, because I've played it a few times. It is really fun. I just wish it was a bit more powerful than it is, and hopefully the next wave of Gold Pride support will push this deck over the top. What I'm really hoping for.